regardless, Red Dead Redemption would make a fantastic movie, and that's just the bottom line.
It did make a fantastic movie the first 50 times they made it into a movie.
Not every cowboy movie is the same. I don't understand how this is.
No, but they all have
troubling to
a
you.
hero with a checkered past.
Well, yeah, you have to have a hero with a checkered past, and I think John Marston is the perfect one.
John
All right, we should talk about video game movies here in a minute. Hello, everyone tuning in. This is Between the Streams, our weekly show where we talk about movies and television and everything happening in the world of entertainment. And we've got a ton of things that we're going to get to today. You know, you can see what we're going to be talking about here right off the bat, which is Logan and Guardians of the Galaxy. We've got Black Mirror that came out. We've got the Assassin's Creed movie, which I'm excited to talk about. Ryan is not.
I'm excited to talk about it.
We're going to do it.
To see it.
And a whole bunch of new things that are getting rebooted, as usual, in our reboot recap. So we'll be getting to all that in a minute. I'm Greg Nibbler.
I'm Ryan Juanita.
And let's go ahead and start off right now. So if you're watching on YouTube, please put your comments in there. Let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to discuss. If you have differing opinions about what we bring up,
Which
please.
is impossible, but
No one's ever had a differing opinion than us.
Sometime.
That could never happen. Please,
implausible.
please put those in there. But let's get right off to the bat. So we've got two amazing trailers that came out this week.
Yeah.
That have for comic book movies, of course. And the first one I think we should get to is Logan. Now,
Absolutely.
Logan, you know, the latest in the Wolverine movies, probably the last Wolverine movie, or at least
the last with Hugh
Jackman.
The Hugh Jackster.
The Hugh Jackster, is that where you're going with that? Yeah, the last one with Hugh Jackman. And, I mean, I have to say the last couple of Wolverine movies, the last couple of X-Men movies, I just haven't been that excited about. They haven't done
you're
a lot
not
for
big
me.
on the X-Men thing. I've always thought they were fun. I never thought they were going to be life-changing. I like the first two. If you're talking about X-Men, I like the first two. The third I liked, even though most people panned it. I thought it was still pretty decent. And I really enjoyed First Class. I also enjoyed Days of Future Past, which I just recently rewatched in HDR 4K because I was testing the TV. And it's really confusing. But it's still, I think, a good X-Men movie. I love the period stuff. I love Quicksilver. So it's fun in that way. But that's something we need to talk about in a moment is the timelines. The X-Men timelines are all over the place.
And that's what was confusing to me about Days of Future Past.
Right.
You know, granted, maybe I didn't pay enough attention, but I shouldn't have to pay that much attention.
Sure. But first, let's get to Logan here. So this is, as we knew, this was going to be a dark movie, but the trailer sort of took it to a new level. You can see Hugh Jackman, if you're watching us on the video, he's got scars all over him. That's a new thing. Mm-hmm. And James Mangold, the director, sort of explained some of this later on in an interview with Empire. Basically, he still has his healing abilities, but he's towards the end of his sort of life cycle. He's always been almost immortal, but not quite.
Right.
And so now one of the things they brought in is that he has scars now when he gets hurt. He can still heal, but now he gets scars.
So that's one of the changes.
Yeah, he used to turn into like baby skin, basically, they were saying. And now he's got that. But this whole trailer now, it's set to the Johnny Cash version of Nine Inch Nails' Hurt.
Right.
And it's got that's pretty much the perfect song for it. It has a really dark vibe, a depressing vibe, but it also has a very intimate vibe.
Mm-hmm.
We see Dr. X in that...
Professor X.
Sorry, Professor X. In that scene...
He's probably a doctor,
Doctor
too.
Strange, Professor X,
Yeah.
you know. But we see Charles Xavier is sort of at the end of his life. He may be senile, we're not sure, but it's kind of jarring to see someone who is essentially omniscient to be sort of like... have cataracts and he looks like he's losing it.
Right.
And it almost seems like Logan is his protector at this point. They've become really close friends at the end. The movie is basically set at the end of it all. We know that the mutants are under major siege, similar to Days of Future Past, but in this movie, from what we've seen, it's a much more believable way. This is where the timelines get muddy, and we'll talk about that in a second. But to me, we've been talking about how basically superhero movies are oversaturated, and we're wondering if there's an end to this. When you see a movie like this that's so refreshing and so different from every other superhero movie we've seen recently, it makes you realize how big the spectrum can be.
Right.
How different you can go with a movie, and that's what they're doing here. It's a gamble.
Yeah.
We also know it's going to be R-rated.
Yeah, definitely, which is kind of refreshing in that aspect,
Yeah,
just to use your
absolutely.
word again, because Wolverine seems like he's perfect for an R-rated movie. I mean, Wolverine is an R-rated character.
Exactly.
So it's about time. We're finally getting it. It's too bad it's at the very end.
Well, and it's also interesting because Fox basically made a big gamble on Deadpool after years and years of pushing, from the producers and from, Ryan.
Yeah.
What's his last name?
Yeah, that's all right.
We'll think about it in about 5 seconds. But yeah, so there was all this pushing, and so it's interesting that Ryan Reynolds, of course. So it's interesting that they did this with the movie, and the gamble paid off, and so now they're doing it with Logan, but it's almost the polar opposite of that movie.
It is, yeah.
Deadpool was fun. It was snarky. It was almost a comedy. This is going to be sort of a drama.
Yeah.
But there's also going to be a ton of action, as Mangold told in the interview as well. One of the interesting quotes he says about sort of where it takes place and everything. He says, "We are in the future. We have passed the point of the epilogue of Days of Future Past. We're finding these characters and circumstances that are a little more real. The questions of aging, of loneliness, of where I belong. Am I still useful to this world? I saw this as an opportunity. What happens when you're in retirement and your career is over?" So there's that aspect to this.
Yeah.
But there's also going to be a ton of action with the rated R. With the R rating, it says there's a lot of high octane action in this movie. We're just going to do it very differently and very viscerally.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, personally,
it's going to be a gamble, but I think it looks incredible.
Just by the looks of it, it looks great. It's got me interested in an X-Men and a Marvel movie, or a X-Men and a Wolverine movie. I haven't been in a long time.
Yeah, and
because it's something different.
The last one was fun. It was like sort of that, the samurai tale. Which also was directed by Mangold.
Yeah.
But this one just looks like it's going to sort of be a whole new thing.
It's almost got like a Mad Max, The Road kind of feel to it.
Definitely.
Where there's, the band of...
The end of it all.
The band of bad guys who are all riding around on motorcycles and crazy weapons, that hunting these two guys down. And the girl that they show in it, too. There's a child.
Yeah, and she may or may not be Logan's clone.
Right, and that's something
which they kind of allude to that in the trailer.
Yeah, she's like you.
Yeah. The vulnerability of it, though, I think, is key to the emotionality of it. So, of course, it's just one trailer. We don't know what it's going to be like, but this is kind of an exciting turn. Mm-hmm. I think, for superhero movies.
Yeah, it's just too bad it's the last one for Wolverine.
Yeah,
now I want to hold. Now
interesting way to go out, right?
Yeah, right. So
for Hugh Jackman, anyway.
For Hugh Jackman, yeah.
We can assume that Wolverine will live on.
Yeah, they'll recast eventually. Yep. But Hugh Jackman with Wolverine is like Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man.
You're
it's
right.
really hard to separate those two,
and maybe even more so. He's been doing it for going on 20 years.
Yeah, however many movies he's been in, as Wolverine in appearances.
Incredible.
So Logan, very excited about that. Let us know what you think about that. If you're listening via podcast, you can always email or watch the video and comment on that. Let us know what you think about it if you're excited for this turn of it. So going from Logan, taking a look at this trailer to something at the complete opposite end.
We could say this is the polar opposite of the spectrum of superhero movies.
Yeah.
And just as fun. I mean, just as interesting. I'm
Absolutely.
just as excited to see it, and that's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yes, which the trailer just came out for that. Over this week, and they actually gave us some pretty good footage of what's going on.
It's a teaser, but there's some interesting shots here. Yeah, for sure. Of course, it's to Hooked on a Feeling. So again, the music setting the tone. It seems like trailers more and more are when they pick a soundtrack instead of just thematic music, it's more and more like driving the tone.
Yeah, they have
what
to
the
stick
movie's
with that.
going to be.
Well, I mean, even with Luke Cage, you look to that. That's
Absolutely.
Superheroes. Yeah, definitely seem to be adapting the soundtrack aspect to it.
Well, and Guardians was so propelled by its soundtrack,
and the soundtrack was great. It was a really good soundtrack.
Fun. Yeah, so we see some interesting things here. Michael Rooker's character looks to be more of a part of the gang. Mm-hmm. He's hanging out with Rocket Raccoon. So apparently Yondu is his character. So apparently he's going to be a part of the gang more. And then we see some fun joking between Chris Pratt's Star-Lord and Drax, in which he gives him a hug.
Right.
I thought I said no, buddy.
Yeah. Well, and these movies, that just to go back to that, how polar opposite it is. When the first Guardians of the Galaxy came out, I mean, I was not necessarily that excited. Right. I mean, I was going to go see it regardless.
Well, it's
but
such
I didn't
a
know
fringe
these characters.
Group of characters.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people did. I know there's some hardcore people out there that'll be like, they've been around forever and we know all about them. And I'm sure you do, but a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
And so this was our first introduction to them. And that movie just turned out to be so good and comedic, yet still fits in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, and in its own way, it's very, very different. Like Logan looks to be, the original was in its own way. It's very different than anything we'd seen before. It's a space movie. But yeah, but it still fits somehow.
Yeah, well, and it is going to fit in, with the overall universe, because of course eventually there's going to be the crossover with the Avengers. Who knows if we get a little bit of a crossover tease at the end of this? I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, what do we say? They have up to 57 characters they can use now.
Yeah, in Marvel's, yeah. I would not.
So that's a lot of characters.
I would not be surprised if there's some more crossover at the end of this, teasing it into it, because the next Guardians of the Galaxy appearance after this will be in one of the Infinity Wars movies.
Correct.
I mean, pretty much guaranteed on that. I doubt there's going to be a third one before they appear in there.
Yeah.
So they've got to start building towards that, and that's what's going to be interesting with this movie is how they start building him more towards Earth or get him more into that same line as everybody else.
Well, and we know that Kurt Russell is going to come in as Star-Lord's dad.
Is that is that confirmed? That it is Kurt Russell? Okay.
All but I suppose he's definitely in
That's
IMDb.
awesome. It's about time for a Kurt Russell comeback.
Yeah, well, he's already made it, I believe.
Yeah,
he's done a good job in recent years. With Tarantino's help as well.
That's true.
But yeah, it should be fun. And you're right. It should be interesting to see if they make it a little bit more serious in tone to sort of edge towards the whole Avengers universe. Not that Avengers isn't pretty fun and lighthearted.
Right.
I mean, that's Marvel's underlying tone is fun and lighthearted.
Yeah. Although those are definitely a little more serious than Guardians of the Galaxy.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Kaz in the chat says Guardians of the Galaxy was like Ant-Man in terms of me being skeptical about watching it, but actually loved it. And that's true. It does kind of have Ant-Man does kind of bring that same tone too, like the comedic undertone.
Yeah. Ant-Man
almost
is
overtone.
Almost its own thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, just having Paul Rudd changed.
But they
things.
brought him in good, with the Captain America movie, so
yeah, absolutely.
I think
Ant-Man was my favorite part.
Ant-Man's great, yeah.
Of Civil War.
Yeah,
it was so cool.
It will be interesting once you get Ant-Man and Star-Lord on the same screen. That's gonna be a curious.
Yeah, see if they're quipping jokes at each other.
Yeah, or if it's too much. It's like, you guys should stick to your own movies.
Yeah, one stage at a time.
One stage at a time. So that's what we found out this week. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, of course, that comes out later. May 5th, 2017, and Logan comes out before that on March 3rd. So definitely some good movies to watch next spring.
Yeah, 2017 should be a fun year.
Should be good. Yeah. So we'll
the election will be over, so that'll be nice.
That'll be nice. That'll be over in November 28th. That's what we decided yesterday.
November 20th.
So we've got some other things that we want to get to here, and we've got to get through. So we're going to be talking about Captain Planet. We'll get back to some, I guess,
he's
superhero
our hero
in a minute. Yeah,
going to take pollution down to zero, buddy.
Oh God,
I know that whole song.
Okay, we'll talk about that. And then Assassin's Creed, we're getting to all these things, Black Mirror, and several other things. So we want to hear your comments as we go through. But let's do our weekly segment here where we do the box office preview of what you can go out and actually see this weekend, what's opening, and whether there's anything good to go check out.
We're just going to bang these out because there's not much good.
Yeah.
First one, Keeping Up with the Joneses. Oh, man, I'm so down. I thought this might be kind of funny. I felt like I'd already seen the movie from the trailer, but I didn't realize it was going to be such a crash and burn. We've got a 16% last time I checked, Rotten Tomatoes, and a 4.3 average. That's pretty
not
much as
good.
bad as it gets on there.
Well, and the stars are good. I mean, Galifianakis, John Hamm.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you say her name?
Gal Gadot.
Gadot.
Yep.
Okay,
and
Gal
Isla
Gadot.
Fisher.
Isla.
Oh, Isla, yeah.
Isla Fisher.
Okay.
As you can tell, we're good at pronciation.
We're getting
on this show.
there. I'm working hard with my
it.
YouTube searches.
we're working
like
our way
skipped
through
one.
it. But yeah, Keeping Up with the Joneses, not looking like it's good. I mean, it kind of looks like a poor man's True Lies. That's kind of what I'm saying.
A little
Based on the
bit.
trailer, because the trailer really does tell you a whole lot about the movie.
It really does. From what I've heard, it's just the script is just really cliche and no real good laugh moments.
Yeah.
Or if there were, we probably already saw them in the trailer.
Yeah.
From what's happening here. So, yeah, it's too bad the director was the same guy that did Superbad. So he's got chops.
Yeah.
But apparently the script might not have been
Might not
the
have worked out so well.
fantasticest.
Well,
That's
such
a
a
word.
wordsmith.
That's a word. I know, right?
So there's
I'm a writer, Greg.
Keeping Up with the Joneses. Rutlings.
All right.
So that's out this weekend. So you can go see that if you did want to.
But you shouldn't. And then next up is Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher.
Another one that is very disappointing compared to the first one, which was sort of a surprise hit. These are, of course, based on the Reacher novels by Lee Child. And, yeah, another one that's supposed to be, like, fairly cheesy, just not a very good script.
Yeah.
Yeah. The director of the previous one bailed.
Okay.
Christopher McQuarrie, who did Edge of Tomorrow, and he was the screenwriter for that. So they lost they lost their director, and apparently it was a turn for the worse on that one.
Well, I mean, it's Tom Cruise, and it's, if you want a super cheesy action movie,
It could
I guess
be
it would go in
okay.
that.
I mean, it's getting a 5.2 average, 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's certainly not rush out and see it.
Okay. All right. So that is out this weekend. Also, the one that I think Ryan is the most excited about.
Very excited. Halloween has come, and we've gotten a new Medea.
Finally, a Medea Halloween movie that is out this weekend. We won't play the trailer for you if you're a Medea fan. You probably already know about this.
You've probably
and are
already
in line
seen
right
the
now.
movie.
And in line right now. Okay, I did a little bit of research, just really quick, on Medea, on Tyler Perry's Medea movies.
Tyler Perry's actually a decent actor. I mean, he was in a Star Trek. He was good at.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, he was
He's
in
been in
there.
a couple of things. He's not a bad actor.
And he's worth $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Guess how many Medea, just straight up movies, not television appearances.
I'm going to say 12.
Okay, you're actually under. It's 9.
Okay.
9 solo movies.
I shot high.
But there's also like 10 stage plays and 1 billion TV appearances.
He's
that have come along
prolific.
with
You
this.
got to give that to him. He is prolific.
He sticks with it. I mean, obviously, some people are going to see this. If you're a fan of Medea, this
got a
is
formula.
This is all for you.
Not for me,
every year.
but if you like Medea, this is.
Oh,
this is
and there's
one
an
of those.
animated film too, so I guess that would make it 10 if you count that.
Nice.
Medea's Tough Love. So we'll give you all your Medea news
All
right here.
So the winner today for the box
Ryan's done with
office
Medea, if you
preview
couldn't
is
tell. That was
Ouija Origin of Evil. So this is a sequel, or is it a prequel? Because it's set in the 60s.
Yeah, I think
I actually did not see the first one.
I saw the first one.
It was panned.
Yeah,
Bad.
Yeah, it didn't really stick out for me.
However, this one is getting pretty good reviews. It's at 80%. It's a 6.2 average, which for a horror movie is damn good. Horror movies are often panned, even if they're good.
I will say this one looks pretty interesting. I just went and saw Blair Witch a couple of weekends ago.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the new Blair Witch.
How did that go?
It's not that bad. You know what you're getting. It's a Blair Witch movie.
Right.
It is pretty good. It's pretty the camera motion, if you're not used to that kind of stuff, gets a little bit too much. But
so this one is about a girl who is possessed by a Ouija board, and her family in the 60s they run a fortune teller thing, a little fortune teller business, and they get a new Ouija board, and she starts using it, and it gets pretty dark pretty quick. From what the trailer seems
it does.
to show.
I mean, when I was watching it, this was one of the main trailers they were showing, and certainly everybody seemed very excited about it. There's some pretty brutal moments in it. That just in the trailer alone.
Right.
I'll watch it. I don't know if I'll see this in the theater, but I will definitely of all these options.
I think this is a great one if you want to see something this weekend. It's almost Halloween. This is spooky, and we should say again, speaking of the power of the director and the writer, I mean that really drives the movie. You can tell a lot from that. This one is Mike Flanagan, who we talked about previously in our Between the Cracks segment because he did Hush.
Okay.
Which is still on Netflix. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it. And he did that with his wife. She's the actress, and they.
I didn't realize his wife was the actress in Hush.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Hush on Netflix, which Ryan highlighted that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and he also directed Oculus. He's doing the latest Stephen King film. He knows what he's doing. He's a good writer. He's a good editor too. He's got a lot of editing credits to his name. But he's starting to take off in the horror genre. So
I
think this one looks pretty good.
Origin of Evil.
Yep.
So there you go. Let us know what you think there in the comments. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop those in there.
And quickly, when I was 12, I read a book about Ouija boards. It was like a young adult novel, like a young adult horror novel. It scared the living crap out of me.
I hate Ouija boards.
Do you remember that when you were kids and they'd break out the Ouija board?
Oh, no, yeah, I remember. I remember specifically because there was a kid in high school.
Really
we don't need to go off on this
like
too much.
Moving.
But yeah, there was a guy in high school that we had a big party and wanted to do the Ouija board, and he asked it when he was going to die. And I was like, I'm not going to sit in the...
Oh,
no.
God.
Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you mess around with a Ouija board?
No.
No, not for me. I don't care. I don't care if it's real or
you're
not.
Superstitious, or
I
it
don't like
just
them.
trips you out?
I don't like it. I'm not going to mess around with it. Real or
Then
not.
It sounds like you should go see this movie.
I will just leave it alone.
Get a little scare in you.
No, yeah, it's Ouija. I don't even want one in my house. Like I won't keep one in my house.
That's funny.
Yeah, I do not like Ouija boards.
All right.
So we'll leave that there.
I did not realize that.
Oh yeah, no, it's a real hot button issue for me.
Well, I can say that book scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I can imagine it did. Yeah. So there's your weekend box office preview. So moving on to some of the other things that we're going to be getting to here. We got our reboot recap, which we're going to be talking about Captain Planet and Captain Planet and Willy Wonka, and we got Assassin's Creed coming up. Before we do that, though, something that really, I guess this would probably, if we had a highlight of the week this week, would probably be it.
Definitely.
And it is premiering on Netflix today.
So excited.
And it is the new season of Black Black Mirror. And I still talk to a lot of people who don't know what Black Mirror is.
Yeah, this is going to be this can be our sub between the cracks. I think we've already done one
Sure.
on Black Mirror.
Fine,
but
works for that too.
Just in case, here, know about it again if you haven't heard. It's just one of the best sci-fi shows out there right now.
And Black Mirror, just kind of the backstory, started off as a BBC show.
Yeah, created by Charlie Brooker, and he does a lot of the writing, and it was on the BBC for 2 seasons, and then there was a bidding war over it. Netflix won because Netflix always wins bidding wars because they spend $6 billion on content.
Yeah.
Or that's their next plan, is $6 billion.
Right. Yeah.
So they got the 3rd season, and I learned a little bit more about it today. Charlie Brooker did an interview with Days, a culture magazine, and they were talking about it. The writer of the article was saying that this is his favorite season yet, it looks really interesting. There's going to be more diverse episodes this time. It's not just going to be about sci-fi.
So it won't just be about like tech and technology?
So I guess we didn't explain that, but yeah, previously the last 2 seasons have basically been based all around sort of cutting edge, like not too distant future tech that
you can see would be on the horizon.
Dystopia, yeah.
Yeah. And they really do such an amazing job of it. I mean, it's like a cross between Twilight Zone, Outer Limits mixed with tech. It
hits you right there because it seems so plausible in a strange way.
It does, yeah. It seems real. It's like, oh yeah, I can see where that's going, especially with AI and everything else that's happening in technology.
Yeah, but so this episode apparently is going to be a little bit more diverse. There's going to be some technology focus as well, but there's also a 90-minute detective story, and there's also one that jumps to the 80s. There's going to be an 80s show or 80s episode. And a thriller episode. So I think most of them are going to be based on tech, but not all of them. They've got a lot of great actors coming for this one. They got Bryce Dallas Howard, Alice Eve, who is one of my favorites. She's amazing.
Alice Eve. I'm not sure what she's...
She was in the second Star Trek, but she's also just kind of brilliant.
Why do you think she's so great?
She's really beautiful, of course, but she's also really smart. If you've ever seen her do an interview, she's actually really smart. And a bunch of people. Braun from Game of Thrones is in it, so... It just looks like it's going to be really awesome.
Yeah,
this is probably going to take up some of my weekend here.
It is kind of interesting with the new cast, like adding in these kind of higher level, or more, not higher level, but more well-known actors.
Well, at least in the American side. I think a lot of the other ones were pretty well-known British actors, or some of them were.
But for us here,
exactly.
for American Netflix, I mean, definitely these are going to be people that you recognize a lot more.
Well, and there was a couple of cool quotes from Brooker about it. He said, I didn't just want to be the negative technology show. Mm-hmm. So he tried to mix it up a little bit. And then they were talking a little bit about what constitutes a Black Mirror episode. And he said, generally, the basic rule is some horrible logic spirals out of control.
Okay. Well,
that's like his sort of formula to writing an episode. So,
well, it is great. And if you haven't watched it before, you got 2 previous seasons you can watch as well. I mean, you can binge watch them. They may be a little bit much to binge watch.
Yeah, I wouldn't binge watch too much.
Yeah, you may be a little disturbed.
Fair warning, as I tell everyone when I recommend the show, because I recommend it quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Episode 1 is the most intense and not necessarily indicative of the rest of the series.
It is not safe for work,
but it's very interesting and I think worth watching.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. The whole thing. I mean,
the whole thing is, but
got my favorite episodes.
Oh
yeah, episode 1 definitely. Yeah. I've got my favorite episodes through there. But Black Mirror, highly suggest that. It's a good thing to watch, especially this weekend coming up with Halloween and everything.
It's a perfect time.
Yeah. All right, so there we go. Black Mirror. Now we've got a couple other things to get to here before we wrap up. So please, if you're watching, let us know your comments, your chat, what you think about these, if you like Black Mirror or whatever else we're going to be bringing up here, because we have some things coming up that I think people may have some opinions on. I do anyway.
Yeah.
And so we want to hear those. If you're watching live, if you're listening via podcast, of course, always email. So before we get to the reboot, well, I guess this does kind of fall into a reboot recap as well, but we did find out a little bit more about Twin Peaks, which Twin Peaks getting it's not even a reboot, it's a follow-up.
A sequel series,
yeah. A sequel series to the original. Twin Peaks is one of those shows that if you know about it, I feel like you either love it or you hate it. It's kind of like Rush, the band, to me. It's like you either love Rush or you hate Rush.
I can see that.
There's one or the other. There's no in the middle, Rush is okay. It's like there's no, Twin Peaks is all right. You either are into Twin Peaks or it is just not for you. I'm one of the people, I've tried to watch it. I'd watched, I think, 3 or 4 episodes. Could not get into it. I mean, it's David Lynch.
I'll go a little further and say you're either a David Lynch fan or you're not.
Well, see, but I can like some David Lynch.
For me, David Lynch just doesn't hit my sweet spot. It's so out there, and a lot of it, in my opinion, is weird for weirdness' sake.
Yeah.
And,
or is it genius, right?
It might be genius too, but not every genius is somebody I want to hang out with and watch. So to me, David Lynch, he lost me with Lost Highway. I did watch it when I was in high school, so maybe I would understand more of it now, but we were talking about it. He makes some odd choices in that movie. And I mean, if you love David Lynch, then like you said, then you're probably going to like everything he puts out. And if he's not your vibe, you're probably not going to like it.
Well, Twin Peaks is his epic.
People are very excited about this. It's coming out April 2017. And basically they came to a lot of the cast is returning, and they did a little interview with them this week, which you can watch on Digital Trends. We have an article about it. And basically, they're all just saying they're really excited to be back. There's a crazy energy, and they're hyping it up. How much of that we can believe, it's hard to say, but they seem to be pretty jacked about it. So
and I mean, and there are some more actors that are involved in it this time because, of course, they're adding to it a little bit.
Yeah.
But most of the original people are back,
and it's coming to Showtime, we should say. So
a
little
Showtime,
more difficult to watch.
I mean, I still can't get over the fact. I'll just say this really quick. My one thing on Twin Peaks, the opening thing, it's supposed to be a small town in Washington with a population of 51,000. That's not possible. That would be a huge town in the state of Washington, and it would not be an unknown tiny little town.
I don't know about that.
That part, it always bothers me. It's in the intro. It is in the intro. I'm like, there's no way there's a town of 51,000 people don't know about it.
Are you sure it wasn't 5,100?
Nope, 51,000.
Right.
That's what it's been my point of contention.
All right.
That's from there. I can't ever get into it.
Well, I'll say this: when we reported on the first, just very tiny teaser, and all it was that shot we just showed. If you're watching the video, and it was just basically a shot of the Twin Peaks sign, people freaked out. It was one of our most popular posts.
There's a whole industry
people are stoked on this
that's coming out around it. They just re-released the soundtrack on vinyl with like a custom cover and record. I know people that went and bought that. There's a book tour that's going on with it. It's like all the people that were acting are getting old side tours about it. It's going to be a huge deal next year for Twin Peaks fans.
Biggest for Showtime, maybe.
I would say definitely.
That might be the biggest profiter on that whole deal.
So a little bit of Twin Peaks news. Okay, just moving on. I know we're starting to run out of time here, but we do need to get to some of our other things. The reboot recap, continuing on with that. And this I guess is a superhero. Captain Planet.
He's not just a superhero. He's going to bring pollution down to zero, Greg.
So, Ryan, you were a fan of Captain Planet. Maybe you can explain this.
So Captain Planet is a show about 5 young teens.
Animated.
Endowed. It's a cartoon, yes. Yeah. Endowed with special magic rings. And each one has their own power. There's earth, fire, wind, water, and heart.
Heart.
So
what exactly is heart?
Okay, well, we'll get to that. But so yeah, these teens get together and they've got their own powers. They can the earth guy can move the earth. The fire guy can shoot fire.
Shocking.
Yeah, all that stuff, right?
Water
Those
girl
are the elements and all that.
People.
The heart guy, all he can do is feel people's hearts or something. I remember distinctly one show, and they're all on the spaceship, or they've got like a little magic jet or whatever. It's like a Harrier, kind of like an X-Men type jet. And they're flying around on it, and they're flying over this jungle. And the heart kid is like, the monkeys are upset. It must be down there. I can feel they're very upset right now. And I was like, oh man, your power just sucks ass, dude.
Nobody likes Heart Kid.
Heart Kid's the worst. But so then they get together with all their powers and shoot them together. And, then they get Captain Planet.
And Captain
he's
Planet
this
shows
weird
up.
blue dude. And he always has to show up. They always try to handle it on their own. And the question is, why don't you just summon Captain Planet right away? Because he always comes in and just kicks ass. But they don't. They try to handle it on their own. And then when everything goes bad, then they summon this weird blue.
Then Captain Planet, the weird blue guy that stalks kids.
And the bad guys are all taking down the rainforest or polluting rivers and stuff. It was a great message. It was in the 90s when people cared about the climate change. Now I think people have just put their head in the sand.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that this is coming up now because, man, it couldn't be any more timely. We're having some trouble. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the Arctic. It's not good.
Well, it's true.
And Leonardo DiCaprio is a big climate change guy. And I love that, about him. But he's also to the point of being annoying elitist about it. But he's the guy producing this movie.
I'm all for environmental responsibility. Yes. I don't know if I'm for Captain Planet. I'm not sure about this.
What if Captain Planet takes pollution down to zero, Greg?
Well,
how would that
go.
make you feel?
You got me there. Got me on that one. All right, so Captain Planet getting a live action movie.
And poor heart guy.
And poor heart kid.
That's the one you don't want to be cast.
Yeah.
I went in for fire, but they gave me heart. Should I still take it?
Stupid heart kid. So there's that. There's also Willy Wonka getting another one, and not another remake of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's actually something completely new and original. It would be an origin story of Willy Wonka.
And it's going to go off the Roald Dahl.
Yeah, there won't be part of the books.
Nothing.
Because there's really not much in the books that are about
exactly.
Willy Wonka's
Roald Dahl
past.
really didn't go into his past whatsoever. He's sort of an
just
enigma.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is going to be a prequel. Who know? I would imagine if it's successful, it'll be a series. But the prequel story of Willy Wonka, how he got to be Willy Wonka, is what we're anticipating. I don't know whether it starts off as a child or it's the whole thing.
I mean, if in the new iteration, they actually did some flashbacks. The Johnny Depp version, which a lot of people
right, they did. Yeah,
did not like, but they actually did some flashbacks of like how he got the Oompa Loompas together and things like that. So I don't know if they're going to draw from that. Simon Rich, the guy who's writing it, wrote Secret Life of Pets and Inside Out, which Inside Out is a pretty great script.
Yeah.
So he was a writer on that. So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
But definitely something in the works as part of the reboot recap.
We don't know when that's going to come out or anything. It's very, very early days on that.
It's definitely interesting, though, to see what they're going to do with it.
Should be interesting.
All right, so getting to our final topic here, and it has to do with the new movie that's going to be coming out, another video game-based movie.
Yeah, starting on a down, or leaving on a down note.
For you, I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I mean, what this does have going forward is a good cast. It's got Michael Fassbender.
We're talking about the
Mario Cotillard.
Assassin's Creed movie.
See how I pronounced her name so well?
I stepped over
Marion
it, so.
Cotillard.
Wait, what?
That's how you pronounce it.
How do you know that?
Just saying.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll have to believe you
It's
because
French
I can't dispute
people.
it.
Yep.
All right. The Assassin's Creed trailer is out, and like you said, starring Michael Fassbender and your favorite
Exactly.
Yeah,
she's good. She's a really good actress. People will probably remember most recently from the third Nolan Batman film. She was the sort of antagonist in that.
Talia or Ragu.
Don't remember her name.
Yeah, okay.
No idea.
Okay, no, I know who she is.
Yeah,
okay.
so that's her. And this movie, I don't know. Again, it's a video game movie. They're almost always terrible. It looks a little unbelievable. He does jump off like 1,000-foot steeple into a haystack, just like the game.
See, yeah, in the game, that's what he does. He jumps into the haystack.
It's a video game. It's harder.
You just can't take this.
It's harder to believe in real life.
You're having a real hard time with this Assassin's Creed movie. Well, this is what I think. If they're going to go ahead and stick with it, if they're going to make a video game movie, you might as well stick to it, more things on the video game. It seems like that's what they're trying to do.
The one cool part I will say about this is it looks like he comes back and tries to take down the organization that sort of kidnapped him.
Mm-hmm.
Fassbender plays, a dude who is condemned to death.
Yeah.
And instead of dying, he gets taken by this crazy, laboratory, like the video games, and brought into the Animus, so he can go back into his past self.
It looks like the video game. It does look like that.
It does.
I mean, I think it looks good.
You are the guy that used to hate video game movies. I don't know why you're just all up in this Assassin's Creed.
Because I love Assassin's Creed, which is also why I want a Red Dead Redemption movie.
Yeah, okay. Well,
even though you don't believe it.
I predict 55% topped out on Rotten Tomatoes, and it'll be okay. That's what I predict.
It'll be okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, let us know what you think about that Assassin's Creed if you're excited about it.
You heard it here first.
Real quick, just before we wrap up, we do have one other thing. Rich, who's running the show here, did just discover that Captain Planet may actually live here in Portland because of the downtown Portland Blue guy. I believe that is Captain Planet, the live version.
That is Captain Planet.
So if you're listening via podcast, I apologize, but just look up Portland Blue guy and you'll see. So Captain Planet's been among us the whole time.
I did not know that.
Maybe you're the heart kid and we didn't know.
So when they summon him, this is where he comes from.
This is where he comes from.
Okay.
It makes sense.
You learn something every day. You learn something every day.
I'm claiming Fire Kid. You're Heart Kid. All right, so there we go.
Can I at least be Earth?
I don't know. Let's go to wrap up. So thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to Between the Streams. So we do this show live every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube and then available via podcast for an audio version after that. So subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube to make sure you keep up with everything that's going on. Send us emails, podcast@digitaltrends.com, or leave comments wherever you find the show, and we will answer you. And I think that's it for this. So thanks so much. We'll be back next week.
See you next time.